Hello, my name is Emre Keen. This is News Pulse at UATV. Welcome to the show. Today in the episode, in Russia's Voronezh region, Ukrainian drones has attacked one of the largest chemical plants in Russia. Russia helps Iran to destroy Israel's critical infrastructure, Ukrainian intelligence confirms. Putin is looking for money to continue his war of terror against Ukraine, and Russians are to pay for that. Look into our story for more detail. Last night, drones attacked chemical plant in Voronezh region of Russia. The facility is ablaze. This facility is one of Russia's key chemical plants producing ammonia, nitric acid and ammonium nitrate, the base components for explosives. In fact, it is a critical element of the Russian military-industrial complex. Through the production chain of ammonia, nitric acid, nitrates, the enterprise supplies the essential raw materials for munitions. In March 2026, for the first time during Russian full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Ukraine has launched more cross-border assault drones at Russia than Russia. Russia's defense ministry reported downing more than 7,300 Ukrainian drones, and of course, their defense ministry only publishes figures of Ukrainian drones it claims were shot down. That inevitably means that there were much more drones attacking legit military targets in Russia. And obviously, not all UAVs were shot down. The port of Ust-Luga could be a great example that has been evidently burning for more than 2 weeks in a row by now. Ukraine's Air Force, meanwhile, said its forces faced more than 6,400 Russian drones and 138 missiles of various types across the course of the last month alone. Around 90% of drones and just under 74 of missiles were successfully intercepted or suppressed. Series of strikes on key Russian oil terminals in the Baltic region has cost Russia nearly $1 billion, and that is just in lost export revenue, not even counting an irrevocably lost equipment value, according to Financial Times. 5 strikes on the ports of Primorsk and Ust-Luga damaged terminals through which more than 40% of Russia's seaborne oil exports passed. In Primorsk alone, approximately $200 million worth of oil have burnt out completely. The attacks also hit Lukoil's oil refinery in the Nizhny Novgorod region, as well as chemical and fertilizer plants whose products can't be used for military purposes. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov released recently good news. Russia cannot guarantee protection of its own energy facilities, he said, but that's already old news. We know that already. Ukraine delivers energy ceasefire proposal to Russia through American side. President Zelensky confirmed that during his everyday address to the nation. The president also added that Ukraine is ready for a ceasefire during the Easter holidays. However, if Russia continues its attack, Ukraine will also continue its deep strike sanctions.
В Україні робимо свою частину цієї роботи постійно.
Here in Ukraine, we are doing our part of this work consistently, and our long-range sanctions continue to be very effective and are actually reducing Russian revenues, primarily oil revenues. This is entirely fair, and most importantly, it limits Russia's ability to drag out this war. If Russia is ready to stop strikes on our energy infrastructure, we will be ready to respond in kind. And such a proposal has been conveyed to the Russian side through the Americans.
And now we convey a proposal, a call to action on UATV. Their voices heard around the world, mostly from US, by the way, if my hearing is not letting me down. These voices are saying that Ukraine should not use the momentum it just gained in such a hard fight and just stop its strikes deep into Russia on military and oil facilities. So today's call to action question would sound like that. On a scale from 1 to 10, how useless is for Ukraine to stop strikes deep into Russia, where 1 is not useless, Ukraine should stop its strikes immediately, and 10 is completely useless, Ukraine should double down and carry on with putting pressure on the Kremlin's war machine by hitting it where it hurts the most. Russia helps Iran to destroy Israel's critical energy infrastructure, confirms Jerusalem Post. Russian intelligence has provided Iran with a detailed list of 55 critical energy infrastructure targets within Israel, according to information obtained by the media Jerusalem Post from a source close to Ukrainian intelligence. The report, which highlights the deepening military and intelligence cooperation between Moscow and Tehran, suggests that the information that was shared enables Iran to launch precision missile strikes against Israel's energy grid. According to the findings, the targeted sites are divided into three categories based on their strategic importance.
According to the findings, the targeted sites are divided into three categories based on their strategic importance. Level 1, critical production facilities. Level 2, major urban and industrial energy hubs. Level 3, local infrastructure. These targets include regional substations that support industrial zones and smaller power plants. From Jerusalem Post.
Recent Ukrainian geopolitical efforts and gains are turning into Russian losses. Deprived of proactive position, the Kremlin is forced to react, buying up Arab Telegram channels to unleash waves of disinformation attacks, as is reported by the Ukrainian Center of Strategic Communications. Owners of Telegram channels that work for the Arab audience in the Middle East have recently begun to receive requests to post anti-Ukrainian videos. In practice, this looks like someone called Ksenia, for example, or any other female Slavic name, offers Arab bloggers to post videos on the topic of, I quote, non-compliance with agreements between Ukraine and Arab countries, end of quote, or something alike. The footage is ready and offered for free. All that remains for a Telegram channel owner is to publish and submit this fake news as news and get their reactions, likes and views that are likely to be significant in numbers. The topic is triggering, and Ukraine's success is hard to ignore, especially by Moscow, who has lost the influence strategically in the region and is desperate to somehow heal the wounds tactically.
The scheme is simple. The Kremlin prepares fake content and then buys its placement within the Arab audience to make it look like the organic opinion of the local audience. Ukrainian Center for Strategic Communications and Information Security.
Vladimir Putin's desire to fund this war against Ukraine at any cost is leading to a massive budget deficit and the destruction of the lives of Russian nation. Here is how Russia is channeling all its resources into war machine and the consequences this is having for the population. More in the following story.
Russia is sliding back toward the era of serfdom. Following a meeting between Russian dictator Vladimir Putin and billionaires, one of the country's richest men, Oleg Deripaska, proposed introducing a 12-hour working day with a 6-day week. He claims this is the only way to pull the Russian economy out of the abyss. Such a change would strip Russian workers and employees of basic rights and freedoms and constitute a gross violation of International Labor Organization conventions. In reality, big business has begun talking about forced labor because the Kremlin has presented the oligarchs with enormous bills to finance the war. The amounts exceed 100 billion rubles per company. To avoid losing their own capital, business leaders have decided to shift these costs onto the shoulders of ordinary workers. The initiative was immediately supported by academics. Academician of the Russian Academy of Sciences, Gennady Onyshenko, stated that such a schedule is normal, especially for the extractive industries.
Yes, we need to work hard. As for the men, they must work until they drop in this situation because we really need to boost the economy.
Such statements once again prove that financing the Kremlin's war machine is the only goal for which the authorities are prepared to sacrifice everything, including people. Despite attempts to prop up the economy, it continues to decline while corruption grows. According to Ukraine's Foreign Intelligence Service, by the end of 2025, the average bribe in Russia had risen to 1 million rubles, and the number of corruption cases reached more than 36,000 in a single year. In addition, Russian industry has been in deep stagnation since the beginning of 2026.
Russian metallurgy, long considered the flagship of the country's economy and a stable source of foreign currency earnings, plunged into a systemic crisis in 2025 to 2026. Profitability across the entire sector fell to 9.6%, which is below the cost of servicing loans. Ural Steel JSC, a city-forming enterprise in Novotroitsk, a leader in bridge steel production and a key executor of state defense orders, went from a profit of 11 billion rubles to a net loss of more than 22 billion rubles in 1 year, from a publication on the website of Ukraine's Foreign Intelligence Service.
While billions are spent on the war against Ukraine and attempts are made to patch up the economy at the expense of the country's own population, the basic needs of Russians are being ignored. Regional infrastructure is falling into decay, and the situation is reaching catastrophic levels. In the capital of Dagestan, Makhachkala, a residential building collapsed due to large-scale flooding. According to Reuters, 3 people were killed and more than 5,000 residents were evacuated. People are forced to deal with the consequences of the emergency on their own.
In Dagestan, people help each other just as they did centuries ago, and this continues today. We help one another, we pool money, we save ourselves. The federal center has never dealt with this and will not do so. They simply are not interested. For them, we are not even second-class citizens, or we are third-class. And what is more, third-class citizens whom they hate.
Despite the fact that the lion's share of the Russian budget goes toward the war against Ukraine, this is not producing results on the battlefield. The promised spring-summer offensive has effectively failed. March became one of the most unsuccessful months for the Russian army. The troops lost nearly 32,000 men and made no significant advances.
Right now, the much-talked-about spring-summer offensive of the Russian occupation forces is supposed to begin. There is nothing of the sort, and it is quite possible that there will be none. What there will be instead is an attempt to destroy, an attempt to commit genocide against the Ukrainian people by destroying infrastructure, striking peaceful cities, killing civilians, and wrecking Ukrainian infrastructure. That, it seems, is the plan.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin is increasingly shifting the cost of the war onto its own population. Increased labor exploitation, rising poverty in the regions, and collapsing infrastructure clearly show that the country's resources are being exhausted, and with them, the ability to sustain a prolonged war is disappearing. Reported by Karina Lalian, UATV News.
That's it for today, folks. I'm Henry Keane. Thank you so very much for your time and for your attention. Ukraine, trust me, feels it, needs it, and appreciates that a lot. I urge you also to comment, like, and subscribe to our channel. Let's see what the next day holds for all of us, shall we? UATV will keep you posted on what is happening. We'll be there in a touch of Ukrainian perspective as usual, so stay safe and tuned for more. Thank you. Goodbye.